Hello and a warm welcome to the AI with Arun Show. How is Informatica reinventing enterprise data management for the AI first era? Can trusted, well governed data become the real fuel behind GenAI transformation? Join this exclusive conversation with Krish, who is the EVP and Chief Product Officer at Informatica, as we decode how intelligent data management cloud is shaping the future of AI powered enterprises. So, Krish, a very warm welcome to the AI with Arun Show.
Thanks a lot for having me over, Arun. And a big hi to all the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Krish. And let's jump right in about talking about AI strategy and product innovation. So, Krish, how is Informatica leveraging AI to transform enterprise data management? You guys are known in that space for years and decades, I would say. So, how are you guys leveraging AI, and what technical challenges have you encountered? Are you integrating AI at scale? So, it's not just one or two use cases. You guys are doing it at scale.
Yeah, I can walk you through the journey. It's actually like a very exciting journey. When we think about how we are helping our customers transform their enterprises with AI, we kind of think of it mainly in three different aspects of it. Right, the first aspect of it is using generative AI and predictive AI. We have been using extensively for a long time within the products to just improve the overall efficacy of the products, right? Like one of my favorite examples is what we have done with our AI powered matching within our MDM product, the master data management product. And when we add these AI features, I think they significantly benefit the customers. But this is mostly, they're not building AI products, but they're using the AI powered products that we have been powering for a while. The second thing, we have been on this journey with Claire for since almost 2018, right? So when we and all of it changed significantly in the last 3 months. If you think of it, in the last 3 years, if you think of it, initially GPT, and then co-pilots, and now with agents, the push here is how do we help enterprises take their raw enterprise data and transform it into AI ready data. And when I talk about AI ready data, the idea is that, hey, your data that is AI ready is intelligent. It's actually contextual. It's, something that's actually compliant, something that you can actually govern. So for us as an end-to-end data management suite, we have been deploying and using AI for the customers to kind of, get to that traditional data management task that they have done in a very easy, very, consumable kind of way, right? So when, if you look at what's going on in the market with agents and agentic enterprise, like I think we have been innovating quite a bit. Like we have many purpose-built agents that are coming in, our fall launch. There are more coming in the spring launch, and we have been talking about these since summer, right? So the data quality agent, the data discovery agent, the master data agent. So lots and lots of innovation for customers when it comes to AI.
And Krish, you're right. I saw a demo of Claire AI and I was blown away by the kind of innovation and the work that has gone in. So, Krish, can you talk about the architecture behind your AI powered cloud data management platform? What are some of the key design considerations, particularly scalability, reliability? I mean, those are very important things that your customers are looking at you for. How do you manage that in terms of the architecture?
Yeah, I think as a platform, right? We are one of the first companies who have transformed from on-prem to cloud, and we have been cloud first and cloud native for quite some time now. And a lot of the aspects of scale and reliability and everything enterprise grade come from the decades of investment we have made, right? So the platform being reliable comes to us from actually both us betting on the hyperscalers, because we are in all the hyperscalers. So we're the only one, maybe the only data management suite that's available in AWS and Azure and GCP. But a lot of it goes to the foundational building blocks, like how do we do upgrades, like how do we actually do serverless runtimes, how do we do the intelligence layer, how do we do the just the connectivity with zero copy, right? So if you take every piece of the architecture, think of it more like Lego blocks that are kind of all built to be perfectly on top of each other, but also have flexibility to be able to be moved around as you need, right? I think most platforms, for them to be enterprise grade, you need that both modularity in the platform, but also the ability to take those different pieces and kind of readjust them as the needs evolve.
And Krish, so you guys are used a lot in regulated industries as well, right? So talk to our viewers about explainability and transparency and data processing pipelines,
Yeah,
right?
I'll start with one a recent CDO survey that we have done, the Chief Data Officer survey, and they kind of like 56% of these CDOs feel like data reliability is their biggest concern, right? And when you talk to CDOs in regulated industries, this concern goes up even more. Traditionally, when they talk about data reliability in regulated industries, it used to be a lot more about data governance and security and compliance, right? Everything from what is the lineage of the data that I'm operating on. Can I actually apply the right governance rules and policies? Can I ensure that in various workflows? Can I make sure it's compliant? It's compliant with, depending on the industry, am I compliant with HIPAA? Am I compliant with FINRA and so on? So right now what we are seeing is the same expectations, if not higher, that you have on data governance are extending to the AI governance. So if you see our latest fall launch related announcements, like we have been also focused a lot on AI governance, right? So data governance, we have been leaders like Gartner's data, Forrester's data, all of them kind of put us in the leader quadrant squarely. AI governance is relatively new, right? You touched on two things. You touched on, hey, how do you think about explainability and the ability to kind of show why you got to the result that you got to? That's a big part of AI governance. But it starts with something even more basic. It starts with, do you understand all the AI assets that you're using to be able to, put together your AI solution, right? Like, that there is data, but there are, like, what are the models that you're using? What are the classifiers that you're using? Like, can I actually start governing these AI assets the same way as I have governed my data assets? I think that becomes a very, very important part of it. And once you do it, now things like explainability kind of become more possible, because now you would be able to version that data. As you start governing assets, you can start versioning the assets, and that's kind of how you get to the explainability when you're talking about either inferencing pipes or training pipes. So a lot of it, the principles, you can borrow quite a bit from what we have done with data governance, but you kind of have to evolve them into AI governance. That's kind of how we look at it, and that has been what our customers have been telling us as well.
Yeah. Now, Krish, so talking about that evolution that you alluded to, so in the last 12 months, 24 months, right, and particularly in the last 12 months, there have been significant breakthroughs in the AI world. So how are those breakthroughs influencing the product roadmap that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think I'm assuming you're talking about the performance of the models, the various kind of the models that are coming together, and so on.
Yeah, and particularly all around generative AI.
Yeah, I think if you think about the overall what started the generative AI train, I think the accelerated GPUs kind of giving us the power to churn and reason over significant amount of data is what the whole cycle has been about, right? And if you think about how we have been taking advantage of the models that are actually evolving, and all the advancements that are coming together for us, we do two things. I think internally for our own Claire, what models we use, I think we have been experimenting with quite a few models, and you're at a point where most of these models are able to do certain things, and the real power, I would say, it's not just the LLM, it's a semantic layer above. It's the context you bring to that LLM with the data you have. The knowledge layer and the intelligence layer, that where we add value sits above LLMs, right? So what we have been realizing is, as most of the LLMs kind of catch up to the same thing, I think it's even more important that we get the intelligence layer on top of it, right? So that has been one big revelation for us. And right now we kind of, from a customer perspective, we transparently switch the models underneath, but still keeping the efficacy and improving the efficacy, right? And we have also, but all the models actually evolving and becoming, reasonably competent means we can also standardize on a model, and we don't have to experiment as much as we have experimented in the early days. But when it comes to customers and customer solutions, like, okay, what you are using our, agent engineering product to build your own custom agents. What models do you use? There, we kind of, what the latest 12 months of changes meant is that, we are giving customers a lot more choice on your own model. Right, so because that's a big part of how an agent is stitched together. So from that perspective, I think the evolution of these models have helped us kind of get to standardization and better feature set, and move the special sauce, if I can say, into the intelligence and semantic layer. But at the same time, customers are getting all the flexibility that they need with respect to bringing their own models. So that's kind of how I see the trend.
Yeah. And looks like you have been able to balance there are all these trade-offs between the model accuracy, the latency, and the cost, of course, particularly for enterprise grade AI solutions. And looks like you're able to balance all of them together, and that's why the product is so successful.
We definitely try. I would say I wouldn't say we mastered all the three. I think at any given time it feels like we have mastered two out of the three, and we are on the path to kind of get it better. And I would say that's kind of norm for the industry. Like, everyone is figuring out, right? Like, sometimes your cost is too high if you want your latency to be low. But in that case, would you bring the model locally? Would you use the APIs? Like, I think there's still enough things we are all learning to, to optimize across the three dimensions you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, and it's an evolution. It's an evolution. Yeah. So, Krish, let's talk about customer-centric product management. Right. So there's a lot of customer feedback that you're getting. Right. The real-world data challenges that you have, and technology challenges that you alluded to. There are only 2 out of 3 that you're sort of mastering, and of course, there's more work needs to be done. But how do you incorporate customer feedback and real-world data challenges that you have into your product development lifecycle?
Yeah, I think look, when it comes to customer feedback, we as a company have been known to work with customers, right? I think Informatica has always this customer first mentality, and this is not new. Like, it's not a recent thing, right? Like for decades, that's kind of how the company was built. That our DNA is rooted in being customer centric. What we do is, if you think about, hey, in your product cycle, how do you take the feedback? I think we kind of take the feedback across every part of the cycle, but I'll give you a few examples along the way, right? Like, I think early stage, like AI governance was the example. Like, we're building this product from the ground up. It's brand new. How do you know which assets to govern? How do you know you're giving customers the right workflows to manage their models, or to be able to build governance rules on top of their AI assets? I think some of this we kind of take really early feedback. We kind of co-design. We actually work with customers in this constant back and forth of, hey, what's working, what's not working, is this really the use case, did we get the use case right? So that's kind of pretty early stage of the product development. When you are getting closer to launching the product, you always, I think a really good example of this is what we are doing with our purpose-built data agents, right? You're launching a data quality agent. You have to make sure it fits the needs of the market and it performs the way that the market expects. So we get into a preview period. We have significant interest from customers when we get into these preview periods, and then we work very closely with them through the preview period to make sure we are incorporating their feedback, and by the time we get to GA, the product is ready for not just the 30, 40, 100 customers that are in the preview, but all thousands of customers, right? And then the first phase of the launch is actually the most important phases, right? I think you just launch something, there is significant amount of feedback coming your way. Like as a product manager, you have to understand the feedback to kind of influence the roadmap. Sometimes the priorities you're always prioritized on new features, but as you launch a product, I call it like, there is a launching and there's a landing. You can pretty much launching is easier, right? You just need to get to the escape velocity. But landing something is harder because there is this phase where the quality needs to go up, the feature needs to work at scale as you expect, the feature needs to work across. You would design it for one use case that are like, customers use it for 10 different use cases. So there's a significant effort that goes from launch to land. And I kind of think of it as a fast iterative cycle when it comes to the product management and customer feedback working together. And then there is the later mature stage of the product where the customers are still asking for CFRs, right? The customer feature requests. They want the changes to the UX a certain way. They want and that's I think of that as a very ongoing feedback loop. So we kind of look at it end to end. And that's exactly what we're doing with our new products and the existing.
Yeah. So Krish, but particularly for AI-powered features, right? Because they're relatively new in the market, they're still evolving, particularly the models behind them. So, what metrics or KPIs are you using to evaluate the success and adoption of these features?
Yeah, I think look, a lot of these. So there are AI powered features like Player MDM that fit in the bucket I was talking to you, where features have been launched. We're actively, customers are actively using the feature, and we are getting ongoing feedback. Those are easier features like agents. The feature we talked about with AI agent engineering. These are more interesting because these are in the early stages of development, right? So we have customers who are our co-design partners, and we have a long pipe of preview customers. In fact, we have more customers asking to preview the product than we can actually accommodate to have a real high quality feedback loop. And here for the AI products, it's really co-designing and getting feedback. So from a metrics perspective, I would almost say for some of these products, it's too early. At the end of the day, you would look at it and you would measure them kind of similar to any other products. Like, what is the adoption, or like, are these products driving the consumption metrics like you expect them to drive the consumption metrics? I don't believe in metrics like I saved you X man hours, because they're kind of made up. It's a little tricky to measure them. So I would rather focus on if the customers are adopting the product, adopting it at the rate and scale that you want, and they're consuming the product at the rate and scale you want, then you're automatically giving them the productivity gains and you're giving them the outcomes. So I kind of, I'm very focused on what are the input metrics and what are the output metrics, and you always want to measure and drive things that you control, as opposed to some other made up metric that looks good, but it's going to be incredibly hard for you to measure or control, right? So that's kind of, because everybody talks about the productivity gain or something else with these AI products, and I personally think you got to go back to basics.
Krish, I love it when you said, so for all the founders who are watching this, here's a very important thing for you to look at, adoption. While the outcomes in a certain way are saved or revenue growth, those are all, to Krish's point, made up, and you could make it the way you want it to be. But if your customers are adopting your product, there's no other KPI that you got to look at.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you, Arun, on that.
All right. So, Krish, let's talk a little bit about the future. And, you given that you're building so many of these agents, AI agents, so how do you foresee the evolution of autonomous data management systems, right? What are some of the technical hurdles if somebody wants to become a true self-service data platform, what are some of the technical hurdles that they would face? And this is more about a little bit about the future.
Yeah, I think let's play out the future a little bit, and then I'll talk about what are the things to watch out for, right? From a playing out the future perspective, I feel like significant amount of what will happen in the space is going to be along two dimensions. I think the first dimension is what you're calling autonomous data management agents, right? So this is what I was calling purpose-built data agents, like the ability for you to be able to do data quality with a single click or a single prompt, the ability for you to be able to establish a data integration pipe with a single prompt, the ability to kind of actually get into the MDM related tasks, right? The master data management tasks through an agent and by interacting with an agent. I think this one is something that's gonna constantly gonna keep pushing the boundary, and things are gonna get easier and easier, right? So the way I talk about it is the low code no code used to be all about interfaces. Now the low code no code is all about agents. And when low code no code becomes about agents, the interesting thing is it also blurs the line with the pro code, because generating pro code has gotten so much easier. So in some ways, agents kind of are both changing what is the interface for data management, but they're also changing how easy it is to get complex tasks that you needed pro code to get done. Right. So that's one dimension. And there the future is all about, things getting easier, things getting more autonomous, the ability to connect these things, right? Before, you have to be in a data quality product, then you have to move to a data lineage product, then you have to move to an MDM product. But with an agent, you're connecting all the three at the same time. So there are many of these interesting things that are going to happen. And I wouldn't call this a hurdle. I think it's an evolution. Anytime you're building a new way of interacting with a very complex platform like ours, or anything as complex as data management, I think we will all learn along the way. Maybe the biggest learning or the biggest thing to keep in mind is, like, you always need that human in the loop. Like however autonomous we want these to get to, what you don't want to end up is your AI ready data turns into garbage in, garbage out data. So you got to kind of make sure that human in the loop is there. The humans who are in the loop are bringing in the domain expertise that they have, because even though it's all data in a pharmaceutical context is very, very different from data in a financial context, and so on. So those are the things I would watch out in this whole agents part of it. The second aspect of where you are seeing significant evolution of things is this agentic enterprise, right? The fact that there are agents that companies like us are providing. There are many application agents that are showing up, and the customers are building their own custom agents. So how do you stitch them all together to make sure you're getting to the reasoning and you're no longer stuck in a very deterministic, rule-based application workflows? I think that is both the opportunity and the challenge, right? When you stitch these things together, can you stitch them in a way that you can govern across all these assets? Can you put them together in a way that you're not violating your, compliance posture? You're not violating your security posture. So I think there's going to be a significant amount of things we will learn. Think of it as, us learning cloud like in '08, '09, right? I think there were a lot of things that were great. Fungibility was amazing, but then it took us a while to get the security models. It took us a while to get all the layers of the stack right, and I think it's going to be the same here.
Yeah. So you're right, and particularly in Gen AI, right? How do you see it evolve in the context of data integration, data quality, and data governance? Krish?
I think look, it's already being deployed in a pretty big way, right? I mean, let's take data quality, for example. Before, data quality used to be all unstructured data, and you would be able to say things like, hey, if this structured data column is out of scope or out of bounds, then it doesn't meet my quality criteria. Like, things used to be more deterministic. But how do you think about data quality in the unstructured world? I think this is going to be very interesting, right? It's actually, unstructured is how you're using it to extract outcomes as a customer, but it's also internally you need a lot of GenAI capabilities to be able to go into the unstructured data and kind of start extracting structure and kind of start figuring out what is the most efficient way to chunk it, embed it. So I think it's how the technology is both being used to transform the outcomes, but also the technology is being used to actually build the toolkit that actually helps you get to the outcomes. So it's kind of like a fascinating progression to see on both sides.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Yeah. So, Krish, that brings us to the next segment of our show, which is the rapid fire round.
Let's
So,
go.
here's my first question to you. What is your favorite deep learning framework for enterprise AI?
Oh, for a quick round, this is actually like, in your mind, what are you thinking when you say deep learning frameworks? Like, what are they?
I'll leave it to you, Krish. Whichever way you want to.
Look, I think when we don't think of it as a, hey, what is this one framework kind of perspective. We kind of think of it as what is the right framework for the right problem. So that way, I'm maybe not, I'm giving you a no answer, but I kind of think of it
No,
as
no, actually, Krish, I love that answer. I love that answer because many time we tend to think about from a technology standpoint, but what you just said is probably the right answer. The right framework for the right context, right?
yeah.
That is the probably.
Talk to each
I
of my
love it.
GMs, I think they will all pick something different.
Yeah, I love it. I love that answer. Yes. All right. So I'll move on to the second one. What is the most underrated challenge in productionizing AI at scale?
Yeah, I think it's the most talked about, but I think it's still the most underrated is getting the data ready. I think it's such an important piece, and organizations kind of are acknowledging it, but at the same time not investing enough in it.
Yeah, yeah. So taking the data thing a little further, so structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data, which is the toughest to manage and why?
I truly think unstructured is the hardest to manage. Mainly, it could be in multiple repositories. It could be in your file stores. It could be in your online repositories, and also it comes in all shapes and forms, all modalities. It's this one's 90% of enterprises data, but it's maybe the hardest of the data to manage and get value from.
Very, very cool. The next one AI trend you believe is overhyped in enterprise data management.
Is overhyped. I think from the best way I think about this one is there are a lot of places where sometimes the story runs way far ahead. We all live in this world where I want to believe everything is possible. So even if it's an overhyped trend today, I believe that maybe X years down the line it's possible, right? I mean, think about like AGI. It's so far out, feels like, but you want to believe it's going to happen, and that's the only way you push the boundaries. Maybe the biggest trend that currently I feel overhyped is maybe the ability to kind of there's this belief that all of a sudden you're going to get the entire value from all the data you ever had, and I think you're still going to extract 80% of the value from the data that you kind of mastered before, you understood before, and you actually have taken time to build metadata on, right? As auto cataloging and auto classification gets better, this is going to improve significantly, but that's today. This is not magic. Today, it's still data management is still a thoughtful exercise.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Indeed. And then the last one, what is a favorite book or a favorite leader who has influenced you?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I grew up by going to Chinmaya Mission. Like it's a school that teaches things like Bhagavad Gita and others from early childhood. So from kindergarten all the way to the 10th, I have been taught Bhagavad Gita, and I'm very heavily influenced by it. Not maybe sometimes in a traditional way, but maybe sometimes in a non-traditional way as well. Every time there is a story, I think of how do you apply it to management, because I think there are a lot of management nuggets that are actually embedded in Gita as well, right? So I kind of say that's my favorite book, and
Yeah,
it
Chris,
influenced me.
maybe someday we should do a podcast just on how Bhagavad Gita is applied in management principles. That's one of my favorite topics too. I would love to have a separate podcast just on that topic.
Oh,
That
that's a
would be an
fantastic
interesting
one.
one.
We should absolutely take it up.
Yeah, yeah. And Trish, so that was the last part of our show. But before I let you go, Salesforce recently announced acquisition of Informatica, right? So our viewers are very curious to know, what did Salesforce see in Informatica, right? And how is the acquisition going on? Anything publicly that you could share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think publicly we have been talking about, or Salesforce has talked about the acquisition. It's $8 billion. It's one of the largest from a revenue perspective. It's one of the largest from a number of employees perspective that they have done. And the reason why they are doing it is because they really believe in the growth story of the product, right? So from that perspective, it's an exciting one for them and for us. And the I think the in the recent earnings call they talked about, hey, potentially this deal closing in the Q4 of their fiscal year, right? Which we are in right now. So most likely in the next 2 to 3 months is kind of how it was communicated publicly to everyone. I think that what is the most exciting part is when you think about Salesforce as a company, I really like how they talk about themselves as a platform company, but it's a platform that's built application down. And they have invested quite a bit in the data cloud, in agent force, in all aspects of the data, but it still has a heavy overtone of a platform that's built application down, which makes ton of sense. I think the thing that's interesting with Informatica is Informatica comes in data up because we have always been a horizontal player. And when you look at connectivity, us having 50,000 connectors, when you think about all the systems we integrate with, like when you think about all the domains we let you master, we have always been a horizontal platform. So this is where I say the data up approach meets the application down approach, and I think that's actually like really good news for customers. I think customers are going to get tremendous value out of it.
Yeah, no, I'm particularly very excited. And for anybody who has been thinking about Salesforce and Informatica, I mean, here's a great combination that will help you all the way, like Krish pointed out, all the way from data upwards, application downward, and you have an end-to-end story with the combination of Salesforce and Informatica. So, Krish, thank you. This brings us toward the end of the show. This has been a really, really insightful session.
Thanks a lot, Arun. And thanks for all the listeners.
Yeah, thank you.